Hey, what's going on? Luke here, and we're here to preview State of Origin 2020 Game 3. It's the decider. Queensland, New South Wales locked at 1-1. Queensland winning Game 1, New South Wales winning Game 2. Who's going to win Game 3 though? That's what we're going to be talking about. Going to be talking about some predictions, some tips, all that sort of stuff. So stay tuned for that. But if you do happen to go on and enjoy this video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here, turn the notification bell as well. Now that we've got that out of the way, we can actually talk about the game itself. So first, I'm going to go through both of the lineups. Now, I've actually done videos going through both of the teams. Now, Queensland yesterday, so I think they announced their side. They've just announced a whole bunch of changes compared to the 1-17 that they actually named. So we see Allan moving to fullback, Valentine Holmes going to the wings. They did a bit of a swap. We have Dane Gagai retaining his spot in the centres, but Branko Lee comes into the other centre position. Obviously, Kurt Capewell had been there. He ends up moving to the second row. You also have Edric Lee coming in. So the two cousins both making their debut in the same game, which is quite interesting. I don't know if that's ever really happened before. I mean, you might have had some brothers or something, but I don't really know about cousins. And then we move on to the halves, the same halves as the first game, although Cameron Munster didn't even really get to play the second game. So, look, Ben Hunt will say he is mainly the 5'8" in Game 2. So, it is a return to the Game 1 halves, which ended up winning the game. So, that could be quite an important factor for Queensland. But we have Christian Welch returning, Jake Frand in the hook position, Josh Papali, Kurt Capewell, like we just talked about, moving from centre to second row. We have Felice Kafusi changing to the other side, Tino at lock. Then we have Harry Grant, Lindsay Collins, he's been dropped. Jaden Stewart and Jai Arrow. For New South Wales, though, it's the exact same 1-17. I'm not even going to bother going through it. It's the same team from Game 2. There's no injuries in that. I thought maybe Ryan Pappenhausen might have snuck into the side on Game 2. I mean, I suppose he could, in theory, still do that, but yeah, I think the real talking point, I've said it before, I'll say it again, the real talking point going into Game 3 is the Queensland lineup. Now, we know New South Wales were very, very dominant in Game 2, not so much in Game 1, but they weren't that far off as well, and they played absolutely atrocious. So I think Wayne Bennett, he saw the danger signs after Game 2, and he needed to make some changes. Whether these are the right ones, we'll have to wait and see. But I feel like Kurt Capewell definitely got exposed in Game 2. After having such a good Game 1 up against Gutherson, I feel like he got exposed in terms of his injury. Not in terms of him as an actual player, but just the fact that he wasn't an actual centre. So him going into the second row, I feel like that would be a good move. End of the day, I think he's injured. So I don't know how effective he's going to be in the second row. And obviously, Queensland stocks in the second row aren't exactly the strongest. They have lots of good locks and props in that, but yeah, the second row was a little bit lackluster. Jaden Stewart didn't do a hell of a lot last game, but he does drop to the bench. Maybe he is a good bench option. I personally would have just kept it the same. I probably would have went with Jaden Stewart. Maybe brought Kurt Capewell off the bench, just because he's got pretty good versatility. And even Harry Grant, look, they've got him on the bench, and I'm sure he's going to make an impact making his debut. But like I said, it is his debut. So I wouldn't expect him to come on and absolutely destroy New South Wales. But I'm sure he'll be effective off the bench. But the only problem happens, or that could come from it, is if there's an injury. Ben Hunt was able to slot into the forwards, do a bit of a job. He's also able to slot into hooker, the halves. And I know last game was a little bit different because he had to slot in within the first couple of minutes. So he effectively was the 5'8" for the game. He wasn't just filling in. He wasn't coming in midway through the game. He was coming in the first couple of minutes, and they actually did start quite well with him there. And obviously it all went downhill. But yeah, I do feel sorry for Ben Hunt. But just in terms of the actual team, it is a very different dynamic to Game 2. I think Val Holmes, I think his best position is the wing. For what fullbacks are these days, you need to have good ball playing ability. And even when Val Holmes was at his best at the Sharks, I don't really recall him being a great ball player. We saw Ben Barber was able to do it. And then when Val Holmes took over, it was more him just becoming a great runner. And he was a great runner, definitely was a great runner, but he hasn't shown that same great running ability since he's been back from the NFL. So it remains to be seen whether he'll end up becoming an elite fullback. Right now, he isn't, and I feel like Allan displayed more at fullback in his short stint at the Rabbitohs than Val Holmes did the entire season. I think that's evident by the fact that the Cowboys didn't even want Val Holmes playing fullback. So it does seem funny that, of course, not even only Valentine Holmes, but there's a lot of players in this Queensland side who couldn't even get a gig at their own club, and they've come into this Queensland side and have got the first position. Like a guy like Tino, he's like was third string lock maybe even fourth string, and he's come in and he's went straight into that starting lock position. Kurt Capewell's another one. There's a lot of players who, in and out of first grade, and they've come to this Queensland side and actually performed quite well. But yeah, Valentine Holmes, I don't necessarily think was one of them. He wasn't absolutely appalling or anything. He was kind of solid, but he's also another player who he was just there. I thought he would be good in terms of backing up in the middle and doing that sort of stuff that Brimson was pretty good at. But Brimson had a way better game in game one, and I think that was evident by the fact that they got the win. And also he got injured doing so. He scored a try. He just had a really good game. Everything just went well for Queensland. Everything that could have went right. Whereas in game two, it just didn't. So yeah, for New South Wales, I think it's important they get out to a good start. They haven't done so in game 1 and 2, and in game 1 they couldn't sort of get on track. They did a little bit. There was a few scrappy little tries, whereas game 2 they actually fired. Now I think it's essential in game 3 they come out and they fire from the get go. I think they need to put Queensland out of their misery. I think they need to get in quick and just get it over and done with and just kill that spirit, especially in front of the Queensland crowd. I feel like the longer the game goes on, where Queensland's in it, the more the crowd's going to get involved, the more the Queensland spirit's going to get involved, and then New South Wales might start to feel the pressure. Now, I'm hoping we're going to see a similar performance from Nathan Cleary and Cody Walker as we did in game 2. It was absolutely incredible. One of the better half performances we've seen in a long, long time. Most of the time when New South Wales plays, even in the last couple of years when they've won, I remember watching James Maloney. He's kicking out in the full and throwing intercepts, doing that sort of stuff, and he was getting all the praise of like Maloney getting the job done, and he definitely did, but we haven't really had halves that have gone in and just dominated Origin, and hopefully this is the start of a halves period that can dominate at least a half. If Nathan Cleary can do it, look, Cody Walker's getting on. If he can do a solid few years of it, that'd be fantastic. But Nathan Cleary's going to be here for the next decade. So if Nathan Cleary can sort of sort himself out in Origin and not just make it a one-time thing, if he can make it a consistent thing like your Cronks and Thurston, just step up to the Origin arena and just go for it and just deliver. Deliver is probably the word for it. I think we're in for a treat, New South Wales fans. We've got Tedesco, who we know can do it. Damien Cook's always good at the Origin arena. It really surprised me a lot of people saying Coruscant and a few other guys like that. Because Damien Cook steps up every time, and if he's on the front foot and if he's playing well, New South Wales win. We saw in game 2 he was getting out, making lots of meters from dummy half. He's just such a threat that even when he makes a good run, you follow it up with Tedesco jumping in dummy half. He usually takes a run. Add in some of the other players, a Jack White or someone, you can get a real roll on just through Damien Cook's running, which is kind of funny considering he's a bit of a small guy, but he does make a lot of meters, gets in and around the ruck, great defender. Did miss a one-on-one tackle, so in terms of size, look, he is small and he's going to miss some tackles, so if Queensland can exploit that, get him a bit tight, I think that's beneficial for them. But yeah, just I don't really know what Queensland's game plan is going to be, because you just look at the side, there's so many changes, so many rookies in this side. I don't know if they're going to grind it out. I don't know if they're going to try and play all-out attack. I really don't know. Wayne Bennett, maybe he doesn't even know. But New South Wales, we kind of know what they're going to do. They're just going to smash it through the middle, you would hope anyway. Smash through the middle and then hope that the backs can take advantage of it, because New South Wales forwards were fantastic, and I think they definitely have the edge over the Queensland forwards at this point. Going throughout the series, I was talking about how the forwards are kind of even. It was more of the backs, but I feel like the more we've seen this series, the more we've seen the New South Wales forwards pack a punch that Queensland haven't. And also then you add in the backs, Addo Carr, we know he's got class. We know the whole backline for New South Wales is quite classy. Look, I'm not the biggest fan of Gutherson in the centres, even Jack Whiten, but I think they're better than Bronco Lee. Dan Gagai, I think, is the best centre out of all of them. But just in terms of just Bronco Lee up against Gutherson, I think it's a pretty good matchup. I actually feel like Bronco Lee might have a bit of a success one-on-one against Gutherson. I think Bronco Lee's fantastic with the ball. Throughout his career, he's always been very, very good with the ball. He sometimes drops a few balls in that, but in terms of just being dangerous, he's definitely dangerous with the ball. It's just a matter of whether Gutherson can wrap him up. I think if Gutherson gets over him early, I think it will just kill the confidence of Bronco Lee, but look, Edric Lee, Bronco Lee, I'm not sure how the defence is going to go. I think you definitely have to target them. We've seen Bronco struggle in defence for years and years now. He sort of fixed it up a bit at the Storm, but Look, that's in the Storm system. Chuck him in here. He's got Edric Lee outside of him. He's got probably, I don't know, Munster or something. He's got a new halves pairing in there. He's not actually, well, if Munster's there, it's not a new halves pairing, but look, he's got a new person outside of him, just a new system to defend in. I think he might struggle, especially being chucked into the last game, high pressure. Be interesting to see how he goes. So I've talked about the team in general. I've already done videos talking about the actual team, so if you want a more in-depth one, go back and check out those ones. But we're going to be talking about predictions and tips at the moment. So look, I think I've been a 50% strike rate so far in terms of picking the winners. I picked New South Wales to win game 1, 1-13. I picked them to win game 2, 1-12. Now obviously I've kind of been off that even in terms of scorelines. But New South Wales did get the job done in game 2. So I'll give myself a pass mark for that. Going into game 3 though, who do I think is going to win this one? I do think it's going to be New South Wales. Look, there probably is a bit of bias to it, but I also think you just look at the results from game 2, you look at the lineups, everything points to a New South Wales victory except history maybe. I think historically New South Wales are extremely bad in game 3 deciders, which is quite interesting. I knew they would be bad just because of how many did Queensland win in a row, and I know a lot of them went to the decider, and then it was always your Cameron Smiths, Cronks, Lockyers, Thurston, Slaters, all those guys getting them home in a tight contest. Usually like a 1 pointer, 2 points, something pretty close. Even a few controversial calls there, get them home. But I think this is just a whole different kettle of fish here. Look, it's apples and oranges, the Queensland side back then to now. I feel like New South Wales is going to go into this game. They're going to be super confident after game 2, and I don't see Queensland being up for it as much as New South Wales. I mean, in the sense of Origin, they will be up for it, but I mean in terms of just actual ability, I think New South Wales will just have way too much class for them. I think New South Wales, I would love to say they'll run away with it. I feel like it'll get to points where they might have a comfort. I don't think there'll ever be a time when New South Wales are ever really in doubt to lose it. But at the same time, I feel like Queensland will always be in amongst the game. So I don't think it's going to be a 13 plus, but I feel like there will just be times where you're like, yeah, New South Wales have won this one. Or hopefully that's the case. I really hope that is the case, because I don't want to be coming into the 70th minute. Kind of like last year. I thought last year, game 3, New South Wales were going to absolutely destroy Queensland. It was one of the weaker sides Queensland's fielded too. And it literally took the last play of the game to get the job done. And at times, New South Wales did look like they had the game won too. I remember New South Wales going over and scoring. I was in the crowd. Everyone was screaming, how good's this? We're going to win. And then Queensland, I think it was Papali went through and scored, and I think they got a penalty goal. I can't remember the ins and outs, but they ended up tying it up, and I thought, oh my God, we're actually gonna lose this one. And then obviously we didn't, but look, it just proves that you can never rule out Queensland. So even though I'm going to say New South Wales 1-12, it's a game where as much as everything in my brain and my heart says New South Wales are going to win this one and they're going to win it well, you just don't know. Queensland they're just capable of it. I suppose any team's capable of it in State of Origin, but Queensland especially, they've done it years and years. So look, I wouldn't be surprised if Queensland do get the victory, but I've got to go New South Wales, got to go 1-12. Man of the match, I'm going to go with Nathan Cleary. I feel like if New South Wales win, it'll be off the back of him having a really good game. And for first try scorer, I'm going to go with Tedesco. I can see him just sweeping around, taking advantage of maybe Bronco Lee, maybe a player like that. But yeah, just sweeping around and then just powering his way over and scoring the first try. Look, there's quite a number of players you can pick for first try scorer. Queensland have got the first try scorer, I think, in both of the games. So, well, I feel like maybe not a smart move picking New South Wales player considering the track record from this series, but that's what I'm going with. James Tedesco, first try scorer, man of the match, Nathan Cleary. Leave in the comment section below, what are your predictions of the game? What are your thoughts of the team? Look, do you think there should have been other people in the side? Definitely leave in the comment section below. We can have a bit of a discussion. Also, let me know what are your men of the matches and first try scorer tips. Even a last try scorer if you want to. Last try scorer, let's go Josh Adokar. I'll chuck him in there. I think he'll score a try at some point in the game. Is it going to be the last one? Who knows, but that's my pick. Anyway guys, that's where I'm going to wrap up the video. Hopefully you did enjoy. If you did, make sure you go ahead and smash the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Also make sure to turn on notification bells. It is quite important. Just let you be notified when I'm uploading videos. I know State of Origin is probably the most popular time of year, especially when it's midway through the year. But even now, I feel like it's quite a popular time compared to the normal season. And we're going into the off season, so I don't know how much content there is going to be to talk about. I'm assuming a lot just because lots of transfers. I mean, the Josh Allan situation is quite a big talking point at the moment. There's always player transfers and that, but make sure you turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of my content. And just keep coming back to the channel, checking if I upload and all that sort of stuff. Also, follow me on social media. I do post on there every now and again when I've uploaded. If I actually remember, I'll chuck it on there. So give me a follow on all social media. It's on the screen right now. And guys, this is the last preview of the year, essentially. So hopefully you did enjoy it, and I'll see you for the rest of my other content. Probably tomorrow I'm going to be doing a review of the game. So yeah, stay tuned for that. I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.